What's good? Here's Russell Kinder, and today we're going to be discussing the recent episode of AEW Dynamite. We're going to go ahead and get straight into it. Starts off with Orange Cassidy versus Trent Beretta. This was a very good match, very solid match. They're having their heated rivalry. Of Trent Beretta turning on Orange Cassidy, I think 2 to 3 weeks ago. They're finally having their one-on-one match. This was a solid match. Some of the sequences happened in the match. Both members was on the outside. Trent Beretta tries to toss Orange Cassidy over the barricade, but Orange Cassidy was able to jump over the barricade. Then Trent tries to attack him, but Orange Cassidy did his signature. He did his signature where he ends up putting his hands in his pockets. He ends up moving out the way, ends up super kicking him. Then they start fighting in the crowd. Crowds, of course, gets hyped. They're fighting in the crowd. Then, as they're getting away from the barricade area, Orange Cassidy tries to go for an orange punch, but Trent Beretta ends up doing a big back, ends up hitting a back body drop over the barricade. They get back in the ring. Then Orange Cassidy ends up going for a orange punch, but Trent Beretta ends up reversing it, then he ends up hitting a running knee. Then, shortly after, Orange Cassidy immediately followed that up with an orange punch. Both men are laid flat on the ground, exhausted, completely worn out. Then, Don Callis ends up coming out, ends up hopping on commentary. Then they end up on my screen, ended up going in picture in picture. Then, once it got out of picture in picture, they're going back and forth. Then, Orange Cassidy ends up hitting a tornado DDT. Then he goes for the orange punch again, but Trent Beretta ends up reversing it, ends up doing a half and half suplex. After he does the half and half suplex, he ends up doing back-to-back power drivers. He ended up doing a power driver the first time, don't go for the pin, does it again, and don't go for the pin once again. Then he ends up mocking Orange Cassidy, ends up hitting another running knee, and again, he does not go for the pin. Then he goes to the turnbuckle. He goes to the bottom right turnbuckle, rips off the turnbuckle pad. The ref is distracted. He sees Trent Beretta ripping off the turnbuckle pad. He sees him. He's distracted. Orange Cassidy decides to go to the left turnbuckle, the top left turnbuckle, ends up ripping off the turnbuckle pad off of that turnbuckle while the ref wasn't looking. Trent Beretta tries to attack Orange Cassidy, but Orange Cassidy ends up tossing Trent Beretta into the steel turnbuckle, rolls him up for a pin, and picks up the victory. After the match, Trent Beretta ends up getting frustrated that he lost, ends up attacking Orange Cassidy. He attacks him, and then he ends up getting the steel steps, pulls the steel steps away from the ring post, picks up Orange Cassidy, and ends up doing a power driver on the steel steps. I love what they're doing with Trent Beretta. I really love what they're doing with Trent Beretta's heel turn. Loving him making this ruthless, savage, he's just out for blood. He's just out for blood. He just wants Orange Cassidy to be in much pain as possible. He's really showing a person who truly hates Orange Cassidy. I really love what they're doing with his heel turn. After he does the power driver, Don Callis, it was a moment where Trent Beretta ends up going to get a weapon. He ended up coming with a toolbox. Orange Cassidy ended up grabbing a chair, and then before either of them could make a move on each other, Don Callis ended up trying to break it up, and then Chris Statlander ended up coming out as well, breaking up as well. Then Don Callis, Orange Cassidy end up going up the entrance ramp. They end up leaving. Then Trent Beretta and Chris Statlander left right after. I'm still interested to see what they're doing with Don Callis and Orange Cassidy. I'm still interested to see what they're doing there, or maybe they have some history that I just don't know about. But this storyline has been really good. I really love what they've been doing with this storyline though. Next, we got Kenny Omega. He has a segment. There was a Jack Perry look segment before, but he didn't say anything that was that important, so I'm not going to discuss it. Kenny Omega, he's in the hospital, in the emergency room. He ended up saying that for 15 years, you guys was like family to me. Thank you, Matthew, for reminding me what you did last week was not personal. It was business. And as an EVP, I guess I have business to take care of myself before I take care of this. Alluding to what he's dealing with, dealing with the circumstances he's dealing with. Then he ends up alluding to Double or Nothing, and he ends up talking about how they always want to make up their own rules, with the elite always trying to make up rules. How about we end up having no rules with an Anarchy in the Arena match at Double or Nothing, Team AEW versus Team Elite, and he ends up revealing that FTR would be two of the members of Team AEW, and later on, FTR will reveal the last two members of Team AEW. And this was great. This is great. I don't know what an Anarchy in the Arena match is. I don't know what that is because, like I said, I didn't start watching AEW until 2023 of August. So this is my first time hearing of it, but I'm interested in the concept, and it sounds like it's going to be chaos in that match since it's going to be the Elite with Okada, Young Bucks, and Jack Perry, and the FTR is going to have their four members, which is going to be revealed later on, up later on in the show. But next up, we got Serena Deeb. She's getting interviewed. Um, I think Tony was interviewing her. He ended up asking her about Double or Nothing. Is she ready? Asked her about Tony Storm. Serena basically was saying that how she excited for the opportunity, show respect to Tony Storm. But then she ends up talking about how people don't believe in her. People don't think she can win. Then she starts talking about then she ends up saying that losing at Double or Nothing is not really an option for her. Then she starts mentioning how she recently made her return months ago and how for 15 months she was on the shelf. Mentioned that she had 3 seizures last year. Mentioned how hard that was for her, the process, how afraid she was of coming back, basically talking about, the recovering process, all of that, right? Then Tony Storm ends up coming out. She gets on the microphone. She ends up saying that I thought that I would hear from my challenger, but all I heard was a charity case. Then she ends up going into her bra, takes out some money, and throws it at Serena Deeb, the ultimate disrespect. Then Serena Deeb ends up saying that I suggest you start taking this seriously. I fought for my life, and at Double or Nothing, I'm going to do the same. Then Tony Storm, still disrespecting Serena Deeb, ends up saying that everything you have gone through, I can tell you that I don't give a single solitary shit. Then Tony Storm tries to attack Serena Deeb, but Serena Deeb ends up seeing it, ends up knocking her out on the ground, laid flat, and Serena Deeb ends up leaving. This was a solid segment. Nothing too special here, but this was a solid segment. Building up to Double or Nothing. Somewhat interested to see how they built this up. Yeah, not much to really go off here, but I am somewhat interested in this feud to a degree. Next up, we got Rocky Romero. He's talking to Orange Cassidy. He starts mentioning his match against Jay White that's going to happen on Dynamite later on. And he talked to Tony Khan, and he ends up saying that Tony Khan said that if he wins against Jay White, he gets an opportunity at the Undisputed Trios Championship, and of him and 2 members of his choosing. And he ends up saying that him and potentially Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy could potentially go after those titles. But Orange Cassidy, once he heard Trent Beretta's name, he basically brushed it off and said that we'll figure something out. Now, we end up getting the next match with Mariah May and Harley Cameron. Nothing too major happened in this match. The match was okay, wasn't too bad. But Mariah May, of course, ends up winning the match. Of course, she has to win. After the match, though, Saraya and Harley Cameron ends up attacking Mariah. But Mina ends up coming for the save. After she helps Mariah May, they have this weird sexual tension again, like they had about a month ago, or maybe like 2 weeks ago. It was about a month ago they had this weird interaction. They did it again. Mariah May ends up picking Mina up, and then Mina grabs Mariah May's face, and they're both leaning in for a kiss. But Mina ends up tricking Mariah May, kind of faked her out, and ended up just getting the champagne. Now Mariah May was a little disappointed in her face. She was a little disappointed. She wanted to, it looked like she wanted to do more than kissing on this segment, but I'm very confused and interested at the same time because it's like, why are they doing this? I don't know if there's going to be more to this story, but who knows? But we just gotta wait and see. But I'm interested and confused at the same time with this segment and why they keep doing it. But I hope it leads to something bigger, because I hope it's just not something they're just doing just to do it, if that makes sense. Next up, we get Pac. He's getting interviewed. The lady was interviewing him. She was alluding to potentially Death Triangle, possibly reuniting, but he gets interrupted by the Bang Bang Gang. Jay White ends up interrupting with, of course, Cole Gunn and Austin Gunn. Jay White ends up saying that nobody is concerned with Death Triangle because Death Triangle is dead. What you need to be concerned with is yourself. You just came off a loss against Okada for the Continental Championship, and there is somebody who knows how to get the job done against Okada, alluding to himself. Then he ends up saying that so maybe I should go after Okada for the Continental Championship and add more gold to the Bang Bang gang, and maybe you could learn a thing or two about winning. Walks off, of course. Pac is upset. He's not happy about that. This looks like this is going to be the next feud for Jay White or potentially the Bang Bang Gang. Bullet Cup Gold could potentially with Pac adding, having friends to back him up. We'll see how that goes though. Next, we got Swerve Strickland. He's cutting a promo. He ends up mentioning Christian Cage, talking about what happened last week. Then he ended up saying to Christian, ends up saying that I don't blame you for what you did last week. I would have done, and I have done some of those things. When you see someone at the top, you go at someone at the top. Then Christian ends up coming out. He ends up saying Christian ends up mentioning what he did last week. Then he ends up mentioning what he did the last week to Swerve with his dread, with his hair. End up mentioning how they took one of Swerve Strickland's dreads. He ends up saying that I decided for every week I'm going to take something from you until I get what I want. Then he ends up saying that you've been riding this wave all the way to the championship. But the funny thing is about waves is that they always come crashing. And he says that Double or Nothing, it's going to be crashing at my feet. Then Christian, of course, tries to do what he did last week by jumping Swerve because he has, Nick Wayne and Kill Switch with him, tries to attack him, but Swerve Strickland came prepared, didn't come along. He has the Mogul Embassy ends up coming to protect Swerve Strickland. And then Christian kind of retreated, make sure he didn't attack. Then Swerve gets on the microphone, ends up saying that I want you to get in the ring so bad so I can beat you down like K-Dot did Drake this past weekend. And he ends up saying that that won't be the last time someone from the West Coast took out a fake father from Toronto. Swerve Strickland was really cooking in this promo. I really love what he did with the K-Dot and Drake reference. I really do love what he did there. Then he constantly, asking, he's really eager. He wants Christian to constantly get in the ring. But he ends up saying that, but you won't, because that will put Christian Cage in an uncomfortable position. And when Christian Cage is facing in uncomfortable positions, he's going to say, I quit. After this, Christian was about to say something. He put the microphone towards his mouth, but he puts it down and he kind of had like a nervous look on his face. But then he started smiling, and that's when the Mogul Embassy attacks Swerve Strickland. They attack him, constantly beating him up. They throw him through the announce table. Christian Cage, of course, is happy, ends up walking off. The Mogul Embassy ends up turning on Swerve Strickland. Now, this is an interesting angle. I'm very curious to see how this plays out. I wonder what's the reasoning behind it. Well, the reasoning maybe end up being said after the next segment I'm finna go over. Maybe that's the reasoning. But if they end up having their own personal reason, I'm very interested to see why. Because one of the members said to the camera that he's done following orders and he's done following Swerve. But I wonder what's more to it, because it can't just be that. Like, because if you don't want to follow Swerve, you're already following Christian. If that makes so, it's like you're kind of playing backwards there. You're still following someone. So, but I'm very interested to see if they end up responding next week to why they turn on Swerve. But they may end up turning on Swerve due to what happened next. Because after that, Christian Cage and with Mama Wayne, Nick Wayne, and Killswitch, they walk up to the Young Bucks, and Christian Cage ends up saying that it was a pleasure doing business with you. And basically, the Young Bucks end up making a deal with Christian to make that happen. So the Young Bucks end up screwing over Swerve. So maybe that's why they end up doing it. Maybe the Young Bucks told Mogul Embassy to do that to Swerve. Maybe they was going to fire them, whatever, since they have the power. Maybe that's why they end up doing it. So maybe that's the reason why they end up turning on Swerve Strickland. But next up, we got Jay White versus Rocky Romero. Jay White obviously ended up winning the match. But after the match, they end up attacking Rocky. They're constantly attacking him, but then Pac ends up comes out for the save. Jay White, Bang Bang Gang, ends up immediately moving out the ring. and avoiding Pac, and then that's the end of the segment there. So this looks like obviously this is going to be the next feud, next rivalry for Jay White. I'm just interested to see, is it going to be a one-on-one rivalry, or is it most likely it's going to be for the trios championships, because he's a trios champ, so most likely it's going to be a multi-person feud. Most likely it makes no sense for it to be a one-on-one since he's the trios champion. Just we're gonna see who Pac is gonna have by his side to help him facing the Bang Bang Gang. It's gonna be interesting to see who he adds. He may add Ray Phoenix, may get help from Ray Phoenix again, because they were alluding to Death Triangle. So we'll see how that plays out. Now we get to the main event match with Adam Copeland versus Brody King in a no disqualification match for the TNT Championship. Solid match. This was a good match. I'm not gonna go over it too much because nothing too major happened in this match, because it was a few interesting spots, but nothing too major. Adam Copeland ends up hitting a spear for the victory. But after the match though, Kyle O'Reilly ends up before that actually. Brody King, after the match, ends up attacking Adam Copeland. He's attacking him, but Kyle, I don't know why I keep saying Kylie. It's Kyle. Kyle O'Reilly ends up coming out for the save. Him and Adam Copeland ends up, double teaming Brody King, take him out, take Brody King out, and they end up making the save. Then after the match, Adam Copeland and Kyle O'Reilly both were getting interviewed. Kyle ends up saying that, Adam Copeland shows his appreciation for Kyle for helping him out, but Kyle ends up saying that Adam Copeland owes him a favor. Adam Copeland was like, "Is the reason you helped me out tonight was because you wanted a championship opportunity." Kyle didn't say anything, but he basically basically, yeah, he wants that title opportunity. So Adam Copeland gave him a title opportunity, and Saturday on Collision, he gets a title opportunity. That probably will be a banger of a match. Adam Copeland most likely will win that match, but it's still a good opportunity for Kyle to, get the opportunity to face Adam Copeland for the TNT Championship. Now we get to the last segment, the Elite. Matthew Jackson, Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, Okada, Jack Perry all come out to the ring. They all alluded to certain things. They alluded to Tony Khan, Kenny Omega. Matthew ended up saying that the reason they attacked Tony Khan was because he got in the way. He was in the way. They only want to make AEW better, but Tony Khan was preventing that from happening. That's why they attacked him. Then Nick Jackson on the microphone alluded to Kenny Omega, talked about Kenny, and he ends up saying that he ends up accepting the match of the Anarchy and the Arena match. Ends up saying that there's no two other people who has the guts to even try to team up with FTR. Then FTR music hits, they come out, and they end up revealing the two other members who's going to join them. The first member became Eddie Kingston. Then the second member became Bryan Danielson. Man, that match right there, Team AEW versus, Team Elite, it should be a banger. It should be a banger. And I can't wait for that match at Double or Nothing. But once Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston make their entrances, they all four of them come out. They go to the ring. Now it's just Team AEW versus Team Elite. They're all in the ring. They have a stare down. Then they all start brawling. And that's how you end the episode of Dynamite. This was a good episode. Solid episode. Solid build. Some things I like, some things I didn't like. The main thing I'm very interested is, of course, the Elite storyline, Swerve Strickland and Trent Beretta. Everything else, though, not well. Adam Copeland and the House of Black storyline, I am interested in that. But everything else, though, was kind of just there. But this was a solid episode of Dynamite. Can't wait to see how this plays out. Now, I am interested in how this is going to work, because I don't know if Team Elite, the Elite will beat Team AEW, because Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson are two people that it's very hard to bet against them for the most part. It's very hard because they are very protected, because it's very rare when they lose matches. So I don't know how they will lose, but that match should be a banger. And Double or Nothing is looking pretty good. The card is looking good. The build-up has been okay. Not the best, but it hasn't been bad at all. But very interested to see how Double or Nothing plays out, though. This was a good episode. You guys let me know what you guys thought of this episode of Dynamite. Yeah, make sure you leave your comments, leave your excitement. Tell me how excited are you guys for Double or Nothing. Let me know how anything you would have changed about the show, anything you liked or disliked about the show. But yeah, That's all I really have to say about this episode of Dynamite. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But yeah, that's it.